If Rocket is a favorite of yours, then you're in luck, because today we're joined by longtime and beloved musical group, The Rockets, and they're going to be helping us whip up a pumpkin mqa dish, lettuce wraps with chickpeas, avo, and a smoky mayo, and a scrumptious yogurt and broccoli quiche. If you want the details to any of these fruit and veg-inspired dishes, please do head over to afternoonexpress.co.za. Now, back in the loft since 2019 is one of the most successful pop groups to ever come out of Mzansi. It's The Rockets, and they're joining us this evening to chat about navigating the pandemic as performers and what their journey has been like for the past 50 years. Jerry and Manuel, welcome to the loft. Now, Jerry, you have had the privilege to be able to be a part of this group for such a long time. And essentially, I guess it's safe to say that they built this as a foundation.
What a journey it's been in South Africa. It's been really a roller coaster ride for the Rockets. But we're not complaining. We're still here, and the band is still functioning. We're still touring all over. The pandemic, we traveled overseas, showed our skills, our musical abilities, and our culture, our South African culture to the world.
Now,
they loved it.
Let's get to all those beautiful details. You know, people say gory details, but I think if you've been able to withstand 50 years in the music industry, it's definitely nothing but golden years, I'd like to believe. You've toured around the world. You've bagged a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yeah.
How are you able to maintain such success over the years?
I think, you know what, in South Africa, your commitment and your passion for that, and also your audience you play for, and never forget to please your audience, play what the audience, what you want as a musician, so always play for them, and it's so crucial, it's so important. Even if we travel overseas, people say, what do you play when you go overseas? We take our original songs, we mix it in with the cover songs we do, because rockers do a lot of cover music, but we write our own stuff as well. We got a few hits over the years, you know, like the Give Me a Break, we had in the 80s, Give Me a Break, Surrender, Situations, and to name a few of all those ones. So we mix it in with our original, and we play that overseas to the crowds, and we knocked them out, the South African band.
Sounds amazing. I mean, Manuel, you also have been privileged to become a part of the group. What is your journey? What did it rather look like as joining?
For me, it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. I actually had a gospel background. I was for 6 years, did gospel music. And then 2010, I'm actually a replacement guy, come to think of it.
The truth comes out.
I'm a replacement guy. And Jerry phoned me, they were looking for a bass player. And funny enough, I never played bass before.
It was cheating.
And then I played at a friend of mine's 21st, the bass player didn't rock up, and so I took the guitar and played, and Jerry phoned the sound engineer, long story short, and he referred me to Jerry, and
wow.
I'm here.
I'm overseas at the time, so I phoned another guy, I'm looking for a bass player, and Manuel picked up the bass, tell him you've got a bass player, and
you were like, that one. I mean, Manuel, I think that you're quite the epitome and personification of whether you are applying for a job on your CV, just say, I can do it, and then you'll learn how to do it later.
Something like that.
But the plus on that was because I was looking for a guy with the voice, and he had a good singing voice. That was the plus on it, you see, that's why.
Well, we're definitely going to put that singing voice to the test a little bit later. But just going back to you being able to tour the world, I mean, from Australia, Bahrain, the UAE, Egypt, and so many more countries. What has touring taught you about the international music market?
You know, it taught us from an early age. Okay, we didn't tour until the late 90s, and we started going overseas. But what it showed us that in South Africa, because I won't say we were behind the curtain. I always say, because we're from Cape Town, we're living in the shadow of Table Mountain, which is blocking us from the rest of the world. But it's not like that. I tell you, we don't have to stand back. And any artist in South Africa, if you look at international artists, you name them, the Earth, Wind & Fire, the Kool and the Gangs, you name any artist in the world. So we never stood back because, and you're surely going to get to that later, this artist we supported, and we never stood back because a lot of Americans or from the UK, Europe we worked with, why don't you guys come to America? Why don't you come to England? Why don't you come here to show what you can do? But yeah, it showed us a lot also to also interesting to tour overseas, the different cultures
Yes.
that you learn, and you see how they do their things. Like in Australia, we've been there 5 times, and the Aboriginal music, it's like different, and it's like a...
Yes.
It's so amazing, but it's so good, and we learned from it.
Very tribal, I believe, and I think
Yes.
that's very close to the music we make here in South
Yeah,
Africa.
exactly.
Very much
Cultural.
beats, cultural
Yeah.
rhythm and blues type
Exactly.
of music, which I'm excited to get into. But being able and having the privilege of opening not only in international countries, but also inviting international artists in South Africa, opening up for the likes of Usher, Luther Vandross, Alicia Keys, the Spice Girls, I can go on. I know this is very difficult, but is there the most memorable, like a most memorable moment that you opened up for?
Okay, I'm going to tell you something quickly. Okay, there's 2 actually. The tour with Usher we did. Usher, we did Durban, Joburg, Cape Town. Then Cape Town we met up with P. Diddy, Alicia Keys, because we did some MTV thing that went worldwide.
Wow.
That was a big one, okay? Luther Vandross was another biggie, but the one that stood out for me, we did a 2 Nations Trust concert at Joburg Stadium, and Prince Charles was there, and his 2 boys was very young still, and we played with Billy Ocean, and then the Spice Girls came on after us, the Spice Girls. Now, Jerry Halliwell is my favorite. And
Yes.
the closest I could get to her was, like, when we were finished with our act, I walked past her and said, "Have a good one."
Just to get a little
I just
touch.
touched her hand. But it was awesome.
Oh, wow.
Really, really good.
I mean, Jerry, as myself and Manuel listen to all of your stories with absolute envy. We have,
Yes.
very envious. We have you throughout the show, which I just love. I'm very much looking forward to, as the show goes on, finding out how the pandemic has affected you both as musicians and the band as in general, and what most we can look forward to. But keep your bums on that seat, roll up those sleeves, because we're going to have you guys in the kitchen after these.